All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Our continuing coverage of the terrorist attack that took place earlier this morning in France. 12 dead, 11 injured seriously as we believe 3 terrorists broke into the offices of Charlie Hebdo. It's a satirical magazine, and they were looking for the editor. They were looking for cartoonists as revenge for some of the publication's cartoons which reflected on the Prophet Muhammad in what they considered to be a negative light. Joining us now, member of the House Homeland Security Committee, former chair of that committee, chair of the House Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence, Congressman Peter King. Welcome, sir. Happy New Year to you.
Steve, Happy New Year to you.
You know, when you woke up to this news as I did, what did you think immediately?
That it's happened again, and I guess probably the first thing I thought of was I hope that this is still another wake-up call for the American people. That somehow, and part of it, this has been spread by the president by acting as if Al-Qaeda is in retreat or Islamist terrorism is in retreat. The fact that we face an enemy that's going to be with us, I think, as far as the eye can see. These are vicious, unprincipled animals, and they do nothing but try to find ways to attack Western civilization, attack Judeo-Christian civilization. And what we saw in Paris is something we have to be on guard for completely. And again, this war, unlike just 2 years ago, the president was telling us that Al-Qaeda was on the run and what a strong position we were in. Well, the fact is, in many ways, it's more dangerous than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to talk about the president, I mean, I could play you clips now, but for time reasons, I'll just summarize. I mean, I got the president here, and we played it the previous hour, October 2012, saying that at the UN, that that the future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. I have the president, of course, you know, after the Benghazi attacks,
Right.
him and Hillary saying, oh, that video, apologizing to the Muslim world for that video. Then the Sony thing happens, and he says, oh, what did they do? They can't be victims of censorship. And I got Jay Carney in September of 2012 attacking this very magazine, Congressman, saying, while we defend their right to print it, we question their judgment. So, I mean, what kind of message is this administration sending?
Sends a terrible message, especially when the party on the other side is Islamic terrorism. It's one thing if we were having a cultural debate or intellectual debate over what type of magazine we should have, but when you have Islamist terrorists threatening to kill people, when you have Islamic terrorists threatening to take away free speech, you should say nothing critical of the media, the journalists who are writing it, whether you agree with them or not. Those are honest intellectual disagreements. That has nothing to do with the threat of killing them or shutting them down or whatever. And that's why, again, this president sends mixed signals. He takes one step forward, at least one step sideways, if not backwards. And it's, again, a very mixed message, which it confuses our allies and it emboldens our enemies.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, and what does it do to our enemies? Absolutely. All right. Talk about us here. When this happens, it drums home. You said you hope it's a wake-up call, but with that wake-up call, comes some fear for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we have to be legitimately concerned, but I think that one way to allay the fear, or at least put it under control, is to know that we're doing everything we possibly can. But remember, I will use the New York City Police Department as an example. They, after 9/11, put in the best counterterrorism force possible in the world, what they did. And yet they were criticized by the New York Times, by the Associated Press, by Bill de Blasio when he ran for election to mayor. I mean, this was that it was considered profiling. It was considered racism. The fact that we would actually be looking into the Muslim community to see whether or not there was any terrorists there when we know that's where they're coming from. And I think in Paris, we can rely on the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, all of these national and international intelligence agencies, but in many cases, it's on the ground that we have to know what's happening. And this seems to be, again, all the dimensions aren't in yet. We don't know, but you have to some of these people who knew Paris, people who were it wasn't a lone wolf. It was a coordinated, trained attack.
What about an inside job? I mean, they knew exactly when the best time was.
All the more reason why it's so important to have intelligence and surveillance. You can't put a cop in front of every soft location in New York City or Boston or Paris or London. The only chance you have where the odds are with you to stop a terrorist attack is if you have prior intelligence. And that requires going into those communities and having informers, having undercover people. It means going to mosques. It means going into coffee houses or whatever, any gathering places they have to find out what is being spoken about.
And that's here, that's in France and here, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Especially, listen, it has to be done in France, it has to be done here. Otherwise, the same type thing is going to happen. And yet we keep weakening the police, and we keep weakening
Congressman, got to run. Thank you, sir. Congressman Peter King, Senator John Hoeven next. Don't go away.